I'm not into nation building. I'm into empire building. Nations rise and fall. Empires last forever. That's why we're still talking about Kush and Kemet. Those are empires. They left a mark on history for all time and space. Nations rise and fall. Greeks rose and fall. Roman rose and fall. The only thing that keeps them in place is the fact that this is European dominated. But once this goes, ain't nobody going to be talking about Rome and Greece because they didn't do anything. Just like we don't talk about the intermediate periods in Kemet. They didn't do anything. You know, it was the old kingdom, the middle kingdom, the new kingdom that did things. That's what we talk about when we talk about Kemet. Nations and empires are not built on baby daddies. They're built on committed relationships. And that's what Elijah Muhammad told Malcolm. And that's why Malcolm married Betty Shabazz. Because if you can walk away from a woman, you can walk away from your nation. But if you're committed to that, because in fact, my wife and I were talking just the other day, because I'm collecting Social Security now, and so is she. Because she's married to me, she collects a certain amount of Social Security. And now that she has her own money, she's beginning to realize how hard it is to give it up. And like she said, wow, I really admire you. All these years, you've given us money. You've gone out. In fact, when, the African tradition is that when check would come in, she would handle it. And the most important thing was our son, who was the youngest. And then came our middle daughter, our older daughter. And then for me, it was my wife's needs. And then if there's a little something left over, then it come to me. But it's not hard. It is not easy to do that. And that's what commitment takes. Commitment takes that, 2 words never come out of my mouth. One after we were married. But 2 words never came out of my mouth. Suicide and divorce. Because they were never the answer to what our problems were. African folk never really got divorced because, once we start having children, it's not about I, me, and mine. It's about we, ours, and us. Those are the words that we use when we're married. And that commitment is what commits. That's what allows me to be committed to y'all. Because I've been committed to stuff, and I know what it is that it's not about me. It's about us, as a nation, as an empire. And I think the society that we're living in, Europeans never understood this, and we have inherited their illusion. We're not living like African peoples. African people didn't think like this. African people thought differently. Their neurons were connected differently. Their wants, their needs, their desires was different. When we got up into the ice, and when we, as Africans, we started living in the ice, then the whole thing shifted. But when we were in our own accord, like even down here, like I would imagine that when I go home tomorrow, the first thing I'm going to do is try to get indoors because it's cold up in New York right now. But look at the weather here. Y'all hang out on the block, talk to each other, smile. You get the mango tree and the palm trees and all the rest of that. I mean, there's a different lifestyle. Even how I feel when I'm here compared to what I was feeling yesterday when I was coming from it's a totally different psychological dimension. When it's cold, I want to get out of the cold. I come here, brother say, hey man, you ain't wearing that tomorrow. He said, people gonna know you ain't from around here if you wear that jacket. Come on, but that's my environment. I'm trying to get from point A to point B, with the least restriction because it's cold. But when you're in the warmth, there's an openness that you have. There's a different way of thinking. And in Africa, that's how we thought. Brother come by, you have a mango tree, brother is hungry, he said, brother, you mind if I, take a couple of mango? I'm hungry, I'm on the road, I'm traveling. The African tradition, yeah, take what you want. Because we know that down the road, there's another farm that brother will be able to get whatever they're growing there. So, and also the brother that's taking a mango isn't thinking in a greedy mode. So he's only going to take maybe 2 mango. Maybe 3 mango, because he knows he don't have to hoard, because he knows there's a farm where the African tradition will allow oranges or whatever it is. But when you're in the ice, you don't know when your next meal is coming from, so you start putting stuff all up in your back pocket, side pocket, and everything, because you never know when you're going to eat again. So it's a different mentality. So when these people came back down from the south, they brought this mentality with them. And it was the hoard for the sake of hoarding. It was to take for the sake of taking. because they didn't know when the next meal was coming. And so they brought this poison back with us, and now we sort of kind of got into the same mode where we're not willing to share. Not all of us, because in many places I've gone, it's been great sharing. But I'm speaking in terms of those that have bought into this European concept, man. It's just, as you watch how Africans did it and you watch how Eurasians do it, it's a whole different world out here. You got 99-point-something% of everything. And the little bit that the great majority of people have, you want to take that too? What kind of mind do you have? You got everything. You done stole everything. You played the Monopoly game. You bought up all the boardwalk. You bought up everything. And now all of a sudden you say, okay, you can play the game, but hell, you got everything.
Right.
What am I going to buy?
Right.
You see? So that's the game they play. Well, you're playing the game. Yeah, but you bought it all up about 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. And now you're saying that now we can play. But what is on there? Go to jail? What's up there?
Right.
These are the types of ways that we have to start thinking as a people and begin to develop a strategy to get, because we can do this. We don't need them. That's the number one thing we have to understand. We don't need Eurasians, because if we did, how did we get in this position? Because they ain't never helped us. What we got because we got it, not because someone wanted to be nice to us. I understand the underground and all the rest of that Underground Railroad. Everybody's trying to show how Europeans helped us, and they did. But black folk were into the Underground Railroad long before Europeans started. Black folk were not waiting for white folk to start opening up their houses before we decided to get off that plantation. After maybe 100 years, they started to open up and started doing things, which I appreciate. But the Underground Railroad was run by black folk, for black folk, by black folk, and that was it in the beginning. Others joined on as time went on. But you see, everything that they do, they always have to include themselves in it. And they have a problem dealing with us, being us. Somehow or other, they've always got to be there. Like Spike Lee talked about that movie where Matthew McConaughey was in it, where the brother that escaped enslavement. It was a movie that somebody made.
20 Years a Slave.
No, well, but there was another one. It was about a boat. Amistad. Where, you have this dynamic black story, but the white people are the stars. Mm-hmm. Or you had the story with Steve Biko, okay, but of South Africa, but the white people were the stars. Donald somebody, who was and he did help Steve Biko, but Steve Biko was the hero of the story. But you see, they can't handle us being us. And so we have to understand this, And I thought that what Sister had said, Jada Pinkett Smith, no matter what we may feel about that world, but what I felt she said about the Oscars, like, why are we still begging? Why is winning an Oscar still important to us? Why are we still there when we have the wherewithal to do our own thing? And at what point are we going to stop caring about them recognizing us? Why is their validity of us so very full? I don't care if they validate me. I validated myself. Right. We should be validating ourselves. And that's what we need to start from, a point. And that would upset them. Mm-hmm. That would upset them. They like it better when we're angry with them, when we're not included there, than if we just said, something, you can have your Oscar. Right. Because we know what the Oscar is. The Oscar, even in the statue itself, is Ptah. Right. And if you take the C out of Oscar, you have Asar. All of that is up. The Greek drama is based on the Asarian drama, which is a story that we told. But we're still caught up. Star Wars, that is the Asarian drama, told another way. When you deal with the Lion King, that's the Asarian drama, told in animal form. That's our story. And at some point in time, I believe we'll get smart enough, and we'll have the type of money where we'll invest in ourselves, so that Will Smith ain't sweating about making that movie about Taharka. It's already made. And they won't release Taharka. Because ain't no white people in that movie. Because white folk were not in the 25th dynasty of Kemet. So, but they're not going to release it because they're not in it. But why are we waiting? Let's do it small. Tariq did it. Tariq showed you can do it. This brother Amadeus Christ brought out of darkness. You can start small. You can travel. Tyler Perry did it. He was doing plays in small theaters around the country. So why are we still? But it's the framework.